Mr. Tinnel here. Today is Thursday, April 23rd, and today we're talking about the U.S. entry into World War I and the end of World War I with the Treaty of Versailles. Starting with my good things, I'm gonna actually jump over and share my page over here. So my good things. Yesterday I got my motorcycle out and cleaned it up. It was a beautiful day. So after class and everything was over, after I was done doing all my work, I got out, polished up my motorcycle. That's looking really good right now. And then drove it around the neighborhood for a quick minute. But yeah, that was my good thing. Your good things. I'm going to actually press you on your good things because that is going to be something have to do with your task for the day. So thank you to the people who emailed me and followed my task that I posted on Tuesday. I sent out some postcards. So these are ones I haven't sent out yet. It's old postcards. So if you listen halfway through the presentation today, I have another task. If you have not gotten a postcard yet, there will be an opportunity to get one. Listen for what the challenge is later on in the presentation. But hopefully you guys have good things. Think about those. So jumping into today should be a little bit faster than Monday or Tuesday's lesson. But we're going to jump straight in. There are some guided notes attached with this. These are super easy. There are only, I think, 8 questions on this. Again, I would probably read through these and then listen to my presentation, or read through them with the presentation yourself. But again, I can't stress enough, watch these videos. Watch the videos along with them, because I'm going to talk about things in these videos that aren't covered in the presentations. I give you a lot more information. So jumping into the United States in World War II, or sorry, World War I. The United States takes a long time to join World War I. Our president during World War I was Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson campaigned on remaining neutral. So he was elected president in, I want to say 1812. It might be 1810. One of the two. Either way, when he runs for re-election, his re-election campaign is run on, I am going to be neutral. We are not going to war. So when the war began in 1914, President Wilson declared the United States would take no side and would remain neutral. He did not want Americans involved in a foreign war. He did everything to prevent us from going to war. And he, like I said, he ran for president on his status of neutrality. Germans during this time had started developing their U-boat technology, their Unterboats, their submarines. German U-boats sank the passenger ship Lusitania. Lusitania was a civilian cruise ship with Americans on board. Many Americans felt Wilson should act, but he remained neutral. So think about this: a big cruise ship. If you think, I think one of the big cruise ships that we all think about, Titanic. Think about the Titanic. So the Lusitania was a ship like that. It was going from the United States across the Atlantic Ocean to England. Off the coast of Ireland, German U-boats sank it. They sank a civilian boat. So you may say to yourself, like, well, one, why would they sink a civilian boat? And then two, how did we not immediately jump into war because of this? So it ends up coming out that, United States is trying to stay neutral, but we did want to support what was going on in Europe. But if we start supporting our European allies, we are going to get drug into war. So what we started doing was shipping ammunition on passenger vessels to Europe. Think about how crazy this is. In this, in the storage areas of the Lusitania, there were ammunitions in this in the bottom of the boat. Think about how crazy that is. Word is, and there's some debate on this, but there's some debate if Germany knew that there was ammunition and that's why they attacked it. Some people have argued that there's been arguments on both sides, but the thought goes is that Germany knew that war materials were being shipped on passenger vessels. So if war materials are being shipped on passenger vessels, they're no longer passenger civilian vessels. Those are storage vessels for the military. But think about how wild that is. The civilians, the passengers on that boat had no idea that there were weapons on board. How would you feel if you were on an airplane that had ammunition on it that was being shipped without you knowing? That's crazy. So Lusitania is sunk by German U-boats, but we still stay out of the war. We don't get involved. So the second thing, so that's the first thing that started pushing us towards war. The second thing that starts pushing us towards war is the Zimmermann telegram. So it wasn't until British spies revealed to President Wilson in a telegram that Germany had reached out to Mexico. Germany told Mexico that Germany would help Mexico recapture lost territory from the Mexican-American War if they entered Germany's side. Basically, Germany is trying to find enemies to attack America before America can join the war. Third, additionally, Germany just declared open submarine warfare on any ship in the Atlantic. Lusitania was just the start of that. Any ships in the Atlantic were fair game to be attacked. So these three things are what bring us into war. Lusitania being sunk, the Zimmermann telegram, Germany trying to get Mexico to fight against us, and then open submarine warfare. This lack of movement, preventing movement around the world, this brings us into war. So we see here stuff with the Zimmermann telegram. Once again, we see the division of alliances. To avoid mines, so we see mines being put up throughout the Atlantic Ocean. Mines like this to prevent hitting mines and hitting German submarines. We start traveling in packs. That's how we get across the Atlantic Ocean. Additionally, we start seeing a lot of involvement of African Americans in the war. 350,000 African Americans fight in the Great War. And this is one of the first times we see it a lot in World War II also. You have African Americans fighting for other people's freedom in Europe, but they don't have those rights in the United States. And this is one of those first times where people start saying, well, why are we doing this? Why are we fighting in this war if we don't have these rights at home? On the home front, we start seeing women step in to fill roles that men had typically done. The war allowed women to expand their influence in society with wars and jobs outside of the home. Government encouraged people to start helping in the war. Civilians at home could help with the war. They did this through war bonds. Basically, you give the government money so that they can spend that on the war, and then after so many years, you will get that money back with interest. We start seeing people create victory gardens. Like I said on Monday, people didn't want to have to rely on stores to have their goods if supplies were running low. A lot of supplies were being put towards going to the soldiers, going to the front lines. We wanted to avoid taking food and material from soldiers, so we started doing it ourselves. The government also started encouraging meatless Mondays, wheatless Tuesdays, fuel conservation, and scrap drives. Basically, conservation with the goal of helping to put more material and more food in the hands of soldiers. We start seeing more propaganda. Propaganda is opinions expressed for influencing the actions of others. We see a lot of propaganda in World War I and then in World War II. And we see the end of the war. The war ends on November 11th at 11 a.m. 1918. 11/11/11. This is a significant date because that is our Veterans Day. Our Veterans Day is always on November 11th, and it is because it was the end of the Great War. So, end of the Great War also creates the Treaty of Versailles, which we are going to talk about in a minute. So, the Treaty of Versailles and its punishment that was doled out was punishment for starting a war that cost 8.5 million lives. It injured 21 million and killed 52,000 Americans. So it was, not to diminish 52,000 Americans, but that number is going to be far higher in World War II. So President Wilson lays out a 14-point speech after this, and he says, there are 14 things that we need to do as a world to fix this. And I'm not going to go over all of those things, but some of the things he said in this 14-point speech was, we need to have smaller militaries. We cannot have militarism. No secret treaties between nations, no secret alliances, because those alliances, those small alliances, explode into a much bigger war. Freedom of the seas, and an association of nations to peacefully settle disputes. He suggests creating the League of Nations. So Wilson tries to convince our Congress to agree to join the League of Nations, but they refuse. So we see today, what is the group of nations that solves world problems? That is the United Nations. That will come up after World War II. The League of Nations was created by the American president for the world. The world joined in, but who didn't join in? America, the people who created it. So now we get to the Treaty of Versailles, and this is the moment where I'm going to give you your task for the day. Your task for the day is leave me a good thing. So, and you don't have to do it before noon. I said before noon the other day. Today. So today is Thursday. Thursday before midnight, because I realize some of you have been watching these on your own time, and I get that. Thursday before midnight, send me a good thing. You can put it on your classroom. You can email me, but send me a good thing. Tell me a good thing, and I will send you a postcard. All right. Back to wrap this up, we got a little bit more talking about the Treaty of Versailles. So the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles is the end of World War I. This bookends World War I. And I cannot stress to you enough, the Treaty of Versailles causes World War II. Once again, the Treaty of Versailles causes World War II. We, the world, and the winning nations beat down Germany after World War I. We dismantle, we destroy Germany. And what we're going to end up finding out here, the life lesson of this, is you cannot crush your enemy. You can defeat your enemy. You can win. You can punish your enemy. But when you demoralize and crush and utterly devastate your enemy once they have lost, they're going to get spiteful. They're going to get angry. That's what the Treaty of Versailles does to Germany. So these are the things we're going to talk about in this. We'll go quickly through it. Here's the Palace of Versailles. See the meeting itself. So big three. We see David Lloyd George from Britain, George Clemenceau from France, and Woodrow Wilson from the United States. We were the ones, these three countries were the ones who make the most of the decisions. There were 39 nations there, but those three are the ones that make most of the decisions. And each of them have three different points of view. Wilson was absolutely the conservative one, the one who wanted to be peaceful. Wilson wanted peace without victory. He didn't want nations to, he wanted nations to be treated well to avoid a war of revenge in the future. Guess what happens? We get a war of revenge in the future. Clemenceau was opposite. He wanted to crush Germans. France got devastated in the war. He wanted to punish them. He felt that Wilson was being too soft. Britain was in the middle. He promised to make Germans pay, but they knew that destroying Germany would not be good for Europe. So we see three different points of view on different parts of the spectrum. So what we end up getting with Germany and its punishment for the Treaty of Versailles is called brat. You can remember it by brat, B-R-A-T. So first, Germany had to accept the blame for starting the war in the War Get Clause. And appreciate how crazy that is. Germany accepting the blame. Did Germany start the war? Thinking about the presentation on Tuesday? No. Serbia and Austria-Hungary started the war. But somehow Germany, because they were the stronger country, they're the ones who take the blame for the war. This is a text from the Treaty of Versailles. So B is for blame. The R in brat is for reparations. Germany had to pay over, in today's money, $402 billion in reparations. They had to pay that money. The other countries did not. So we see blame, reparations. Next is army. Germany was forbidden to have an army of over 100,000 men, no submarines, and no air force. And then lastly, Germany had lost territory to colonies and to France and Britain. So parts of Germany were chopped up, turned into other countries, and then this area was occupied by the Allies, and then these areas were given to other countries. So we remember what happened to Germany in the Treaty of Versailles with brat. Germany was treated like a brat. Blame, they took the blame for the war. Reparations, they had to pay the money for the war. Army, no armies. Territory, they lost land. So that's what we have for the day. Once again, main takeaways from the day. We were neutral at the beginning of the war. We didn't get involved. What brought us into the war? So the second part, what brought us into the war? Lusitania, Zimmerman telegram, open submarine warfare. Last main point, brat, Treaty of Versailles causes World War II because Germany was treated like a brat. Blame, reparations, army, territory. Excellent. So that's all we have for the day. Hopefully you guys send me your good things, and I'll send you a postcard. That's all I have. Look forward to hearing from you tomorrow. We have one more assignment for the week. That will be tomorrow, and we'll talk about that then. Thanks, everybody. Bye.